Moving on to our first session of the day. For session 1, we have amongst us Professor Dr. P. Vijayakumar, Vice Chancellor, National Law Institute, University, Bhopal. Professor Vijayakumar was the Senior Professor of Law at National Law School of India, University, Bangalore, before joining NLI Bhopal as a Director. He was awarded Rayarji Sasakawa Young Leader Fellowship at Salzburg Seminar in 1993. Sir was a visiting scholar with York University, Toronto, Canada, at its Center for Refugee Studies during 2000 to 2003, and was exchange visitor at National University of Singapore during 2004 to 2005. He visited US in 1988 under the International Visitors Program of USIS on Living Constitution. Representing the law school, he was a member and vice chairperson of Board of Governors of Asian Law Institute located in Singapore National University till 2009. He was Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University, Chennai between 2010 and 2013. He was conferred Amity Academic Excellence Award during 2011 and Best Vice Chancellor Award by the Indian Red Cross Society during 2012. He has published more than 47 articles in national and international journals and has contributed to a couple of books as well. He was Chairman, Undergraduate Council between 1997 and 1999, and of Postgraduate Council between 2003 and 2005 at National Law School of India, University, Bangalore. He was also a member of Karnataka State Higher Education Council between 2012 and 16. His areas of specialization include constitutional law, administrative law, human rights law, law of elections, refugee and humanitarian law. We welcome you, sir. We are delighted to have you amongst us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So the topic that I selected was for the interaction, creating academic environment in the post-pandemic scenario, challenges and solutions. There is a slight there is a slight variation from what I had given earlier to Dr. Subramanya. That pandemic situation was not there, but I just added it so that it is easier for us to understand and appreciate what it really means. Before I commence, I would like to just mention what is this academic environment. You must have heard about environment, right? But what is this academic environment? To be simply put, there is no universal definition. There is nothing called academic environment anywhere. I have used this phrase to convey something which I have in my mind, and therefore the definition is also my own. Good, bad or ugly, I'll leave it to you for you to decide. For me, very simply, academic environment means where the teachers go to an educational institution with the intention to teach, and where the students come there with an intention to learn. Then I think that academic environment is complete and full. Now, it is a very fundamental, basic expectation from the teachers and the taught that they have to be present, they have to learn something, but in reality, it doesn't happen, right? There are many teachers who are not willing to teach anymore, right? They have been recruited and there ends the matter. In a private university, at least they can easily, dispense with them. In statutory universities, it's very, very difficult. Once they enter, 1 year, they will be all right. Once the probation is declared, I think there begins the problem, right? Today, higher educational institutions are plagued with all types of problems. Today, if I am nominated as one among the candidates for becoming the Vice Chancellor of another university, I think the petitions will start flying, right? So we have to question whether the teachers are there only with the intention to teach or with some other motive also, right? Politics is good, but not in academic institutions. Similarly, the students, whether they are willing to learn for whatever is the reason, and I think by and large, all of you will agree with me, today we have students who are millennial kids, right? As they are millennial kids, I think many of us have become millennial fathers also, our parents, because the disease spreads faster. The first thing that we see in the morning, earlier, we used to have the portrait of a god, goddess, whatsoever it is, right? Have a darshan of that in the morning. But today, the first thing that we see is our mobile phone. And the last thing that we see before hitting the bed is also mobile phone, right? And some of the youngsters may also sleep, go to sleep with the mobile phone in their hand, because anytime a message will come, anytime somebody will call, the expectations are too high. All these developments have significantly reduced what you call it as the attention span of the students, right? Now, please go to the class and find out if you are able to keep the attention of the students for about 30 minutes, you are reasonably a good teacher. If you are able to keep them interested and interactive for 40 minutes, you are a very good teacher. If you are able to keep them for 1 hour attentive and listening to you, right, then I think you are an excellent teacher. That is how I grade the teachers, right? And therefore, the point that you have to note here is, when I go back to the definition, that where the teachers go to the institution with an intention to teach, right? And in many places, I think teachers are responsible for motivating the students to go on some strike, right? I have seen that everywhere in Ambedkar Law University. So there are people who can also do this. There are teachers. And similarly, whether the students are coming there with an intention to learn, I think you can just stand outside any college, right, and find out how many students are carrying the backpack containing books, right, notebooks or whatever it is, a pen or pencil in their pocket. And I am surprised to note that many of the professional legal education institutions as well, the students just enter without a piece of paper, without a pen and pencil, but certainly they will have the mobile phone in their hand, right? So that is marvelous to understand that whether they have the intent to learn. And if these two things do not go together, intention to learn, intention to teach, if these two things are not there together, then I think we don't have an academic environment in which we can perform the job properly and effectively, right? So the pandemic situation has only deteriorated this further, right? And that is what I would like to, present to you as I proceed. So the job of creating an academic environment is in the hands of the teachers. Even if the students are not willing to, first day they may not bring the notebook, but you just tell them, ask them to write something and bring it to the class, right? They will certainly bring it. Ask them to bring what you call it as the bare act of any law that you are teaching, or the text of the Constitution if you are teaching constitutional law, or the text of the UN, charter to the class. See, these are all the things which can make people to read. You ask them to read articles so and so, everyone will start looking at it, and therefore you make them engaged, right, in the classroom, and that is the best way to make them listen to you, to whatever you are saying during the course of, say, around 55 to 60 minutes that you have on hand. I have also seen another, method. If there are about 80 students in a classroom or 60 students in a classroom, in every classroom, the teacher will call out the name of each and every student and look up the entire class scan the class from left to right, right? 30 seconds are gone for one student. Second name, third name, and 60 names you call, and you waste easily around 20 to 25 minutes in taking the attendance, right? These are all possibilities which will very clearly indicate. And sometimes the teachers stand outside asking all the students to get into the classroom, right? Till the last student they see gets into the classroom, they will not get into the classroom. Now, these are all the games that the teachers generally play, and that very clearly indicates that the teachers are having little interest in teaching, and maybe they have more interest in something else. We don't know, right? So therefore, this academic environment, the obligation to create the academic environment is with the teachers. And please look at these the slides carefully, then you can understand. During this COVID-19 pandemic, a vast set of academic activities have been substituted with a traditional system of teaching learning process. I don't think I need to speak much about this aspect because everyone knows about this. We were teaching in a particular form, right? And we were not able to teach in that particular form. So there is no whiteboard or blackboard. But of course, there is PowerPoint presentation. But we are not sure, or we were not very sure, whether the students are there at the other end of the spectrum, listening to you, right? And you may also see their connections are all there. They are present, and we instruct them to switch off their microphone and video. And that is a boon for them, right? They switch on and they conduct their own business as they wanted. And if you call somebody, name somebody and ask them some questions, they are not there. Physically, they are not there, which means for the sake of attendance, they have switched on the mobile phone or whatever it is, the instrument, and they have gone to do their work. So this type of things and asking about the examination, I think less spoken is better because the UGC, the respective government, central and state, our regulators, they have all told us as to how we have to conduct the examination, right? Online, offline, open book, essay type, this type, that type. I think we are also sick and tired of seeing all these things. And as such, whether we have created or we have, in a sense, managed to keep this academic environment intact during the pandemic, I do not know, right? And if somebody says, yes, I have done that, then I think hats off to that person. I'm not simply saying that we did not do anything. There are many private institutions which have done a marvelous job. I have also seen some of them because I have also specifically lectured to them. And every 5 minutes, every 6 minutes, for example, the slide that I'm showing, the teacher will ask one of the students to read the slide, right? Because you can see the slide. This is one way of ensuring that the students are present and the students are willing to listen to you. So this is one process which we try to test, but I don't think that succeeded in every place. And therefore, less spoken about this is better. It has thoroughly substituted the traditional system of teaching learning process. When I say teaching learning process, it also involves the process of examination and evaluation, right? The continuous evaluation, nothing has worked the way that we have been doing prior to 2020. Now, what is the impact of this? This 2 years of pandemic. There are both positive and negative implications of such modification made in this teaching learning process. One such thing is what you are now witnessing, right? Online classes, online faculty development program. The teachers may be from different parts of the country, and we have also seen international conferences where the teachers and the resource persons are from different parts of the world coming together. That is the merit of the system, right? The demerit of the system, I already mentioned to you. To what extent the other end is active is a question that we have to ask ourselves, right? If somebody says, if I can speak to the computer for 1 hour and my job is over, and that is not so, right? And unless and otherwise, that is why somebody defined what is education. They said education is something where the material from the book is passed on by the teacher to the students without either of them understanding what it is, right? The material from the book is passed on to the students by the teacher without without any of them, both of them understanding what it is. And that should not be the purpose of education. I think let us keep this point in mind. The third point here says some of the developments have taken place much earlier when technology brought a series of changes, and it continues to do so even today. Technology, you cannot stop it, right? In those days, gone are the days when we used to come from the classroom, our hand will be full of chalk piece, right? When the principal or the director comes, we just show the hand, how sincere we are in, using the blackboard. Then we have moved to whiteboard, then, overhead projector, PowerPoint presentation, so on and so forth. Now today, there are teachers who just walk around with PowerPoint presentations, right? And I very jovially tell this, if the power goes, the point also goes, right? They cannot speak a word beyond what is there in the screen, right? They can read, but the best teacher I have seen, one among the examples that I quote regularly to everyone is Professor Vivekanandan, who is a Vice Chancellor in Hidayatullah National Law University, Raipur, who was also my student. I don't hesitate in accepting him as a good teacher, right? Right? The reason is, if it is a 3-hour, 4-hour, 2-hour lecture, you will not see more than 5 slides in his PowerPoint presentation, right? Just 5 slides. And such a hilarious way of delivery and making the students participate, interact, question, right? All these things are made possible, and therefore we have to use the technology to a limited extent, right? Otherwise, we can be nicknamed by the students as the pen drive teacher, PowerPoint teacher, right? That anytime you call, oh, I have the pen drive, I just put it, start teaching, right? That's also possible, but I think the dependency on the technology is not the way that the profession has grown in the last few decades or few millennial of years. The fourth point that you see is, therefore, a holistic response to the emerging trends in education needs to be initiated. What is it? And that is what I'm going to speak, whether it is possible for us to look at it in that way or not. Okay. Towards this, towards this, both the teachers and the taught have to come together to find a suitable and appropriate responses to address those issues. It is not that you decide and then impose it on the students, right? We are not like the Western countries. The American Association of Psychologists or American Psychologist Association, in whatever form they are called, they are constantly working and following the behavior of the students, the teachers, right? And they have come out with the studies, the reports, which very clearly indicate that the attention span of the students is decreasing over a period of time. Attention span of the students, right? So this is what Professor Mitra used to say, that if you don't teach properly and effectively, after the attendance is taken, they switch off their hearing capabilities. They'll be physically present, right? Physically present is not the only issue. Are they listening to you? Then they switch off and they don't listen to anything that you say. Nothing impresses them, right? Similarly, today, it is a huge problem for the teachers to understand the classroom as to how attentive the classroom is, whether there is something called as attention among the students, and how long can they withstand a particular teacher, right? And that is why some of the teachers employ what you call it as digital technology to some extent, crack jokes here and there to make the people wake up, make the students participate in the lecture method, right? All these things they are doing so that they can extend this attention span of the students over a period of time. And what is the benefit of that? The benefit of that is that in every classroom, right, if there are 60 students, you can easily identify there are 20 students who are smart. There are 15 students who are good, but they don't want to listen to the teacher for whatever is the reason. There are other 15 students who are not able to follow the teacher, but not willing to question the teacher because the teacher will think that they are duds, And there are remaining 10 students who are not at all interested in the classroom exercise because the parents have sent them, they are coming here and somehow they want to get a degree, nothing else. The job of a teacher, in the first day or the first week, you are able to assess them like this. At the fag end of the semester, if the teacher is able to reassess them and find out the 20% interested students have become 40, the 15% of students who are like a cat on the wall, they have also jumped into the other side. And those who are not at all interested, they have started taking some interest. I think your job is well done, right? You expect the students to come to the next paper, next teaching of next semester, some other course. I think you would have done a magnificent job as a teacher, right? So your job as a teacher is to assess them in the first 1 week as to how the class, how to classify them, and then make a mark, and then find out at the fag end of the semester, the last couple of days or a week, how you have translated the student body from nowhere to somewhere, or somewhere to some good, reasonably good position. Then I think your job is well done. That's what I would say is the best way to manage the issue. Now, let me very quickly rush through what transpired in the last 4 or 5 years, or maybe 20 years when the technology started, or even more than that, technology started impacting our educational system. In the traditional scheme, you can see the first point, the teacher as an information provider, right? And that is why if in the library there is only one book, that book will be with the teacher. And the teacher would not like to share it with anybody else, right? Because the information will be going to somebody else and they will undermine the efficiency of the teacher, which may be a wrong notion, but still we consider the teacher as an information provider. And now if you look at it, is it going to be a challenge? I would rather say this is the huge challenge. You are not simply going to pass the information anymore, right? I'll come to the second point a little later. Next slide, you will see this. So therefore, as the only book is taken by the teacher, the students also relied that the teacher is the only source of such information. Without that, they will not get any information. The third point that you see is the teacher to bring in more efforts to cultivate the quest for inquiry in the minds of the learners. The teacher has to do extra, the teacher has to go the extra mile to achieve this. The teachers to respond to the questions posed by the students in the class or at least in the immediately following classes. Please introspect and find out how many of you allow the students to question you in the classroom. Madam or sir, I have not followed you. Will you please repeat it? I don't agree with whatever you are saying. I don't agree with the judgment of the court. I don't agree with this particular policy, right? Can you give reasons? Can you make me understand better? Now, do we have such questions in the classroom and you make the students also participate? Then I think you are reasonably a better teacher, right? And then teachers to equip themselves with the latest information, knowledge and application, right? What the students actually look forward is the application of the information. Information is fine. How do you apply and where do you apply, right? And how do you develop this skill or knowledge, right? For example, I have always challenged the teachers who's teaching Income Tax Act, right? I asked them, do you know how to file an income tax return? The answer is a blank, right? Now today things have changed, right? The teacher can automatically go to the internet, download that particular form and explain to the students. We will also learn, the students also will learn as to how to fill up a particular, that is what is called as application. Or you are teaching GST, right? Many things are now available on the web and we have to utilize that and engage the students more meaningfully in the teaching learning process. Now, what is the role of the students, right? Be attentive in all classes. It is better we don't even mention this nowadays, right? That attention, I don't know. I think you're all teachers. You should know it better. And I've been a teacher. I continue to go to the classes. It's very, very difficult to make them be attentive. And I don't think that is why we have to understand who will create that environment, right? Take down necessary notes from the lectures. And I told you they don't bring the notebook, pencil. What will they do? And sometimes they record the entire lecture of this teacher in their mobile phone. Because the lecture is recorded with the mobile phone that they can listen to a little later, they don't concentrate on what you are saying. They are busy in recording, and they will not find time to listen to the lecture again. They may store it somewhere, but certainly they will not have the opportunity of listening it anymore, right? Participate in the classroom discussions, right? It's a very, very dangerous word, participation in the classroom, because there are occasions some students will hijack the entire class. I told you 20% of the good students, if they start probing the teacher one after the other questions coming in, the last batch of students I mentioned to you, those who are willing to learn something, even they will not learn anything because the questions asked by the students go above their head. The answers given by the teachers go above their head. So they become much more disinterested. And your focus will be only on this 20% of the students, which is a very, very dangerous thing to do. And if it comes to that level, you have to make them keep quiet in the classroom, right? After 2-3 questions, you don't allow. Ask others to engage the classroom. Ask others to raise questions so that you are distributing that ability to question the teacher or ability to interact with the classroom to every segment of the class that you would like to. Raise pertinent questions to clarify the doubts, right? Not necessarily you have to give the answers. Sometimes you may raise a question, right? And from that question, you may ask them to respond to the questions generally and write down their answers on the board. And then you start giving the answer and find out how many students have said what is right and what is wrong. I think possibly you can also involve the students in that manner, right? Now, the next point that you see is keep in mind always that the class might consist of intelligent, good, average, and weak students, and allow the teachers to balance the interest of the entire class, and interact with the teachers accordingly, right? So the students are the diverse category. The teacher is only one, and the job of the teacher is to interact with them much more meaningfully so that you are able to guide even the weaker students, right? Beyond even the classroom, that you have to do it. I think you do it, and that is how you command respect. You don't demand respect. And finally, seek the method and means of application of the lessons so learnt in the classroom, but nothing happens that way, right? Okay. Now, you look at the contemporary developments in general, impact of technology on higher education in general. I told you the US started using technology way back in the early 60s, right? Now, we started using that in early 90s. So there is a gap or slow. We are 30 years or 3 decades slower when compared to the Western countries, right? Similarly, the impact of technology in legal education when we embraced it in 1990s, you could have seen. Now, for example, if I have to do a project on pardon, the power to pardon, or the ordinance making power of the president or the governor, the only source available was go to AIR or SEC, go through the content page, whether there is anything on pardon or ordinance, right? Each and every volume for as many years as possible. It may take months together, right? But today, things have changed so drastically. I just open the laptop. I have the, ability to do it. I just key in the word pardon or ordinance making power in India. I think all the materials available will just come and fall into my system right in no time. I store them, but I seldom read them, right? There is a world of difference between having information and not reading that information. So everybody is interested in downloading article. Oh, is very important for my project. Download. Some student in one institution downloaded 560 articles in less than 4 hours. Right? I don't know what the student will do. I don't know whether the student can even remember the title of these 550 articles that she downloaded. Right? So the technology has this ability to provide the information at the touch of a button, which was the traditional job of a teacher. And today, if you want to be a teacher, that job is not wanted by the students because that information is available with them. When you are saying that in 2018, the Supreme Court has overruled it or has done something, the student will say, no, sir, in 2022, just last 1 week before, the Supreme Court has overruled that. So the information is available to everyone. It is not in your domain. Whether be it articles, be it statute, be it a judicial decision, whatever it is, the information is 100% available on the internet, on the web. And therefore, we have to change our role from the information, simple information passer to something else. What is that? I'll just try to explain a little later. Now, not only the Indian scenario, even the global information, you can access it, right? And that is how the technology has improved over a period of time. And I think I have already given some of you in the last meeting, liiofindia.org, right? Legal Information Institute of India.org. If you can log on to it, it's a free web portal. Access to information, access to free legal database is the motto of this group. And then you can get all the legal information about each and every country in the world. Right? You don't have to go to any library. You don't have to go to different countries. So this technology has brought in lots of revolution. And today, they're also employing what is called as AI and artificial intelligence and blockchain. And then they employ in everything that they do. The Americans have already tried and they continue to try to make the job of the judges easier. You feed in the facts, the computer will process and give you the judgment. The judge will simply remove it, sign and give it to you. Right? Is it that fast? Yes, it is faster. It is AI based, right? Transparency can be brought in through using the blockchain. All these things are possible. And therefore, now it is a challenge. And I have used the term ROS here. I hope all of you are able to see this. ROSS. In the third bullet point, can anyone suggest what is this ROSS stand for? Any one of you? Any wild guess? Don't rely upon Google Baba. Right? The moment we say, immediately you take the mobile phone and search for it. Right? Ross is the name of the first AI-based robo-lawyer. Please carefully listen to me. Ross is the name given to the first artificial intelligence-based robo-lawyer created by IBM Watson. And then the job of this Ross is the lawyer will go and greet the robo. Hi Ross, how are you? I need some information about the ordinances made by the president or the governor, or the power to pardon, or an accident, a motor vehicle accident case, or an insolvency case, right? By the time the lawyer goes and sits in his office, right, the entire information up to date is collected, not only of that nation, world over, and is able to project every information to the lawyer, who is at an advantage of seeing everything till the last minute, right? That is the beauty of this ROS. Many lawyers, they fear if the ROS becomes a reality, every senior lawyer is going to appoint a ROS, I think many of us will go jobless, right? That is a fear. They have already expressed it. And that is a reality. And this ROS has been employed by a law firm in New York, which is dealing with insolvency and bankruptcy cases. So they have exclusive domain in which Ross is giving their assistance that is required with all economic data inputs, whatever you want. I think Ross is able to do it. And therefore, our education should also be tuned to such a level, right? Not necessarily to behave like a Ross, but also to process that information in a much more meaningful manner. So therefore, the conclusion that I would like to say in this slide is that information is available to everyone. I told you the first earlier one, the teacher was the only source of information who could convey it to the class. Today, every student also possesses the same information, sometimes better information, sometimes latest information by the students than the teacher. Then what is the role of the teacher? And therefore, they will not respect the teacher who is only interested in passing on the information. And that is the first challenge. You have to keep it, please do think about it. Don't take it just as, okay, these things do happen. This is going to be the in thing. This is going to be a huge challenge for every one of you, because for me, another 8 months and I will retire and go, right? And I don't have to face this situation. But I think you will, for all younger people, you will face the situation as you proceed, right? Therefore, the role of the teacher as information provider alone has absolutely no place. Has absolutely no place. Or if it has a very little place in the present academic world. And therefore, we have to change our attitude from something to something else. And then only we can survive in this world. Otherwise, we can also, say they also ran and I also taught. That's all. There ends the matter. Right? Now, it also continues. I think already I have made a mention about this, even at the cost of repetition. What is there in store for us in the years to come? Karan Gupta, in an article published in 2018, around 4 years ago, and whatever is said, I think the COVID situation, speeded up the whole process. It would have taken 10 years for us to reach this level, but COVID pandemic has given us this benefit, right? 3 pillars of higher education is the title of the article written by Karan Gupta, in which he says digitization is the first pillar, internationalization is the second pillar, and collaboration is the third pillar, right? And these 3 pillars, according to him, are turning out to be the game changers in the education space in India, right? Not in the world. In the world, things are changing, right? And they are going to change the education space in India, is what he wrote in 2018, right? These bring twofold effect. Number one, bringing affordable education to a much larger audience, much larger audience. I don't know how many of you know that there is a university in UK which gives distance education, professional law degree. And sometimes the students from those institutions are far better than the regular students of even Oxford or any other university in UK. So there are good points, there are bad points, but can you continue to do this affordable education to a much higher, much larger audience, right, is a question. And I think India recently, we have taken efforts to organize the first digital university in the country. This is the job the chairman of the UGC has recently announced, the first digital university, which means the affordable education to a much larger audience is possible. You can operate from a particular room. You don't have to have 10 acres of land or 40 acres of land. They said, if it is a digital university, even 5 acres of land and a huge building to house all these peripherals is more than sufficient. And that is going to be a game changer. If in the digital university I get a degree, and if it is recognized by UGC, why should I bother about the other entrance tests, other examinations? I'll just enroll, I'll get the degree, and it is the duty of everyone to recognize it. There ends the matter, right? And allowing collaboration between universities and countries, thus sharing the best practices in the education management. And that is what is happening today. right? And see the next language that he spoke in this article. Collaboration amongst universities has replaced competition, right? I will speak about this a little later, what it really means, right? Uh, 2 or 3 universities can come together, offer a joint degree program, or they may say, you will do some courses here, do some other courses in some other university, you will get a joint degree or 2 different degrees. All these things are going to be the reality, right? And now, therefore, world is now an open classroom, and contemporary pedagogy has to rely upon these changes, right? Contemporary pedagogy, and sometimes because you are going to LLM and other senior classes, contemporary andragogy, because teaching youngster is one and teaching the older people is another challenge. So we have to tune ourselves to such an extent that we become increasingly relevant in the classroom. Otherwise, they will not respect the profession anymore. It is a huge challenge for one of the noble professions in the world, right? So please take it a little seriously. Now, in this slide, what you see is students are no longer required to be physically present in the classroom. And that is what we have seen in the 2 years of pandemic. And if it is possible, the question is, why not we continue like this, right? If it is possible for the students not to come physically, what is wrong in it? We have administered, we have given degrees to many students. I think we have given LLMs to 1-year students, right? Left, right, and the center. They were working online with somebody else, but still they got their LLM degrees because it's 1-year course online. So if these things are possible, the students' interest of coming to a campus will automatically wane over a period of time, right? Institutions are functioning virtually and expanding the reach to learners outside their jurisdictions. When I say outside the jurisdictions, the UGC had created a limitation that if at all you have an ODL program, distance education program, it must be within your state, right? Today, please look at it, that if you speak about that rule, they will laugh at UGC because you don't have any boundary. You cannot stop the internet from one state to another, right? If I open an ODL program, anyone can join. Why only Indians? Anybody from outside India can also join. And if that is feasible, I think the UGC rule has to go, that state-wise jurisdiction of open and distance learning. And I think by and large they have also diluted that regulation in the recent past. Now, in one of the university news published in 2010, it is almost 12-year-old, but still I am quoting, right? I am quoting this because these changes, as I told you, started taking place in early 90s. And this university news in as quintessential steps to match global standards, in which 5 challenges have been brought in, or 5 steps that we are supposed to take. Emphasis on self-learning and lifelong learning. If I start telling you what is this self-learning and lifelong learning, and I think I need more time and I'm not going to explain these parameters in detail, right? Now, what is this? I put question mark. They have not put the question mark. I have put the question mark. So we have to understand what is meant by self-learning. When they are not willing to learn when I am teaching, making them to learn themselves, what are the techniques that I'm supposed to adopt so you change, right? And it is a lifelong learning. And even after leaving the school, leaving the college, they can continue to learn over a period of time. And as long as the life is there, they can continue to learn. See what a change. Earlier, we considered it must come to an end at the age of 21 or 24 or 25. After that, you have to get employed. Now, even after employment, you are continuing to upgrade yourselves. And that is what is going to translate to match, what do you call it, as the global standards, right? I think Subramanya has worked outside. He would also know. Have you seen anybody failing in Oxford or Yale or any of the Ivy League schools? Nobody fails. right? Because their evaluation scheme is entirely different, right? So, but still they maintain some amount of rigor in what you call it as in these courses, and they stand up to that, and that is why they don't fail them, but still make them right to understand these things. The second one is the spirit to work together. I think that's a huge challenge in India. Spirit to work together. It is more of individuals coming together with the student body and among the teachers themselves, the teachers and the management. I think whole lot of relationships are involved in that. Spirit to work together is a $1 million question in India. Skill to synthesize, right? Now take for example, this is what is happening. In WhatsApp message, you receive a message, right? Now we tend to believe that whatever comes through the WhatsApp or any other app, or even through your email, is true. So the job of a teacher is now not to find what the information is, to find out whether that information is reliable at all or not. So your job changes because this information is available with everyone. You are not going to give that information for the first time, but you will have to see the informational reliability, and that is the place the teacher's job will increase, right? Whatever that you have received, whatever you are seeing on the internet is correct or not, right? Wikipedia, if you see, they also give the ability for you to correct if you have the right information. If you correct it, somebody will say it is a wrong information. They can keep on correcting it. And sometimes the material is withdrawn from the site. All these things make us feel that the informational reliability is the job of a teacher now, and it is going to increase in the years to come. The next one is skill to link and apply knowledge. That's what I told you. There is a vast gap between the degrees that we give, right, and their practical application. That is why Narayana Murthy, the former CEO of Infosys, made it very clear, 95% of the engineers, the software engineers they produce, the universities produce, they are not employable. They are not employed. Then what is the big fun in it? Right? If they are not employable, what is the big fun in it? So therefore, the aspect that it is not the information, we have to translate that information to knowledge, bring in the practical exposure, and reduce the gap between theory and practice. Then only the education will have much more meaning. And finally, professionalism, right? What is professionalism? I think I will leave it to you. After the session is over, please Google search Subrato Bagchi and his book, Professional. Who is Professional? The title of the book itself is Professional, right? Please, the first 4 chapters, they are not even 40 pages. Whether you read the entire book or not, it is available on the web. At least the first 4 chapters you see, then you will jump to the conclusion, and you can easily conclude whether you are a professional at all or not, right? Professionalism is also one among the quintessential steps to match the global standards, right? To what extent we can fulfill this, we have to wait and see. There are contradictions within the national education policy, right? To what extent this can be done or not done, we will have to wait and see, right? Now, in one of the journals, I came across this 5 trends in higher education, right? Some of them are already mentioned earlier, but it is compiled in one form, and that is why I'm just presenting it. I will not spend much time on this. Technological trends in teaching and learning, a variety of media, etc., etc. The students receive a high quality education through internet. Both benefits and drawbacks are present in this, right? This would force the teachers to change how they teach. That is what I explained in the previous slide, right? These are the challenges to be faced by the teachers. Advanced students may receive additional learning resources for deeper insights. Somebody average needs little bit of additional input. Somebody weaker will get focused input. All these things will come together. And the technology is meant to address these varieties inside the classroom. It is, I'm sorry, there is a spelling mistake. Soft skills, not soft kills, right? A soft skills training, right? And in which critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, teachers to find a way that the schools, not in the colleges, the high school students, the attention span has come down to 10 minutes out of 40 minutes of a classroom, which means 25% of the occupied time they are able to focus, and after that they are not able to focus. They did research on that. Why it is not possible for them to focus on this learning process? They found out that everybody is carrying a mobile phone, and then within 4 or 5 minutes, if they don't get a message, because they don't keep it in the, they keep it in the silent mode or the vibrator mode. In the vibrator mode, if they don't feel the pulse that somebody has sent a message, if they don't receive a message in about 10 to 15 minutes time, they feel that they are neglected, they are not wanted, and psychologically they become ruts in the classroom. See the beauty of that. If they don't receive a message for about 10 to 15 minutes, they don't receive a missed call, the friends have let them down, the family has let them down, and they get into some sort of psychological upheavals, and therefore they are not able to do anything well in the examination or in the studies. If this is true, and if what they have found out is also true, they try to fix it. And they try to fix it by, what we do generally when we go to the classroom, we tell them not to use the mobile phone, right? Now in the new venture, new avatar as a teacher, you are not going to say that. You have to say, please use the mobile phone. And that mobile phone, you have to use it the way that I tell you, right? So let us all play a game. And everyone will be interested, and everyone will have the, access to use the mobile phone or laptop or, slate or whatever it is. And then engage them through what has been the weakest link. The educational psychologists have brought in the techniques of involving the entire class with humor, right? With much more seriousness, and it is possible for you to keep the entire class active and involved throughout the 40 minutes or 50 minutes time that you have. And therefore, the entire environment of teaching learning methodology changes. And I think in the last time also I made a mention about Kahoot, a gaming platform, and use the gaming platform liberally to convey. It is also a learning for the teachers to convey what you want to project in a classroom, and that gaming will be involving all the students, and they will enjoy it, and they can easily assess them and also mark them accordingly. And you don't have to do it, the system will do it. So the LMS software that I'm going to talk about a little later speaks about from A to Z, everything is done by the system. The teacher has to work hard to create the inputs, because the computer cannot do anything better. If you put the garbage, it also gives garbage out. So you have to put the quality material in the computer so that the outcome is also excellent. And that is going to be the challenge that the teachers will face in the years to come, right? Now, therefore, the role of the teachers in the contemporary world, right, not necessarily in India, in the contemporary world, is that you have to use the blended learning environment, right? Somewhere it is online, somewhere it is offline, a blended learning, right? Now, see the first one. The blended learning, I am using the shorter form BL. I don't have to repeat it every time. BL stands for blended learning, right? Shifts the teacher's role from knowledge provider, information passer, to that of a coach and mentor, right? Thereby, the teachers can have an even more profound influence and effect on students' learning. So if you still stop at information passing stage, you may not be wanted, right? But when you become a blended, using the blended learning environment, then you become a coach, you also become a mentor, you also become a player, you become a referee, you become an umpire in whatever language you learn. and the students will also enjoy that, right? So you will have a profound influence and effect on the students, right? I have literally tested this in the law school Bangalore. I was forced to go to a class which was very boisterous, right? They never listened to anyone even for 10 minutes, right? I was forced to go to that class for about a week. And I went there and I used this platform, right? And you have to see the transition in them. And those who were seated in the last few rows in the first class started coming slowly but steadily to the front rows. And then the last day, you could see that students were fighting to sit in the first 3 rows. Now, what brought this transformation within a week is nothing but the application of the blended process of learning and teaching process in the classroom. And it requires lots of exercise outside the classroom. You have to be prepared. You have to load something, right? For them to enjoy it, for them to participate in that, you have to do lot more work before you upload something, right? It also becomes more student driven, or what you call it as bottom up and customized learning, right? It emphasizes on the enhanced role of technology, which I don't think we have to say this. It facilitates interactive tech-based learning, individualized pacing, and continuous engagement of students. Now, what is this individualized pacing? Now, once the system accepts these inputs that you have, the students can access it at any point of time. The student who have not listened, who have not learned anything in the classroom, will go and sit at home, log on to it, and once again listen to the lecture, right? Or if the student was absent in the classroom, still he will have the benefit of your lecture, right? There is, of course, another issue. Whatever I speak in the classroom, can it be recorded and then publicized openly? What happens to my privacy, right? Is it my effort? Do I have a IPR right over this, copyright over this? These are all the questions, these are all the challenges which will come through, but I think we have to negotiate these things as we proceed. Right? So it provides teachers with a fuller, more accurate picture of how each student is doing. This is what I mentioned. LMS software, it will also provide where one student is doing better in some aspect he or she is not doing, and you can focus your attention on what the person is not able to do it, and that is why it is said individualized attention, right? It yields more frequent and personal teacher interaction with individual students, and it combines the best aspects of online learning with the best aspects of direct instruction. Any number can go on. New pedagogy is what I came across. You can also look into this. That's why I have provided the website also, www.contactnorth.ca. It's a Canadian portal, right? They provide what is called as 7 key developments triggering this new pedagogy, right? What are they? Change in society, student expectations and technology, right? For example, I tell the students who is the head of the state and the head of the government, and they give the answer. I tell them, please give the answer. What you have said is not correct, but you have to know this is the right answer if you are taking civil service examination. If you try to write something else to show that you are smarter than the examiner does not like you. So he will fail you, right? But I tell them in the classroom how the president is also the head of the government, how the president is also head of the state, right? But that answer is only for the classroom to create awareness among the students, to challenge it whenever they can challenge, wherever they can challenge. But I also tell them what is right to do in the examinations, right? So therefore, there is a change in society. There is student expectation, the technology coming into picture. It's a combination of all these three. New demands of a knowledge-based society. The third one says applying knowledge to meet the demands of the 21st century society using skills like critical thinking. I really do not know. I am not a votary for this. Whether you can create critical thinking based on online teaching, I have my own doubts, right? But there are learning platforms which they do create, right? They bring out the best, but there may be a minuscule number. I still feel that the physical classes where I can question each other, they can also question me. Ultimately, I think critical thinking can evolve. What this critical thinking would mean, I will also try to explain as I proceed, right? Promote the students to continue to learn even after graduation. Millennials grow up in the world. I think I have already mentioned to this. New technologies, AI for teaching and learning, that is also I mentioned earlier. Fast changing world of work, right? Learning on the job is to be promoted. See this language. Learning on the job is to be promoted. And so the teacher's role will also change accordingly. Now there are lots of issues. Now, as you have witnessed one, uh, the institutional infrastructure and bandwidth. I don't know whether my bandwidth failed or your bandwidth failed or in between something failed. For a few seconds we were offline, right? So the challenges in this blended blended way of teaching is institutional infrastructure, whether they have the computers, because I go for various places for inspection on behalf of UGC, Bar Council, and NAC. And every teacher says I know how to use this smart board. So I immediately take my pen drive and give it to the teacher concerned. Please use this pen drive and demonstrate how you would use this blackboard, use this smart board. They take the pen drive, they look at the others because they don't know where to insert this pen drive, right? And they need always an assistance. So therefore, speaking is much more easier, but converting that in the digital platform and using all of them in a particular manner, I think is going to create lots of challenges, right? Then I think I mentioned to you Kahoot.com. This is what I mentioned. Please carefully, if you find time, go through this. It's a beautiful platform. It is very, very engaging, right? If you subscribe, you can even test amongst yourselves. One teacher can play the game with other teachers, get some experience, and then you can employ that in the classroom. This is not the only platform. There are other gaming platforms, even Microsoft has. There are other platforms. You can choose any one of them. I thought it is only objective type questions that is useful, but I think it uses different formats, right? Please use that, and then you have creation of now the UGC. See, look at this. Before the pandemic, they sent a circular stating that MOOC and SWAYAM courses, all the universities must give the option to the students to take 20% of the courses under for the undergraduate students. They have now revised it post-pandemic. They are now saying up to 40% of the courses you can ask them to do under MOOCs or SWAYAM, right? And whatever grade is given by them, you have to incorporate those grades in your certification. So things are changing. We need to look at all these aspects. And privacy issues, I mentioned to you. Teacher to be a regular student. This is my own. Teacher to be a regular student of ICT, right? Constantly, because you have to learn, right? On the job learning is for the teachers, right? You cannot simply say, I don't know how to use the system, right? The people may not like you. So therefore, teacher to be a regular student of ICT, that is information and communication technology, to cope with the demand, the increasing demand in the contemporary society. Right, now let me come to the second part of it. Creating an academic environment needs little bit of critical thinking as well, right? And this critical thinking, how does it come? I have given you the examples, Newton and Archimedes. I don't want to waste the time, because everyone went to the apple tree, everyone had taken the fruit that was fallen down, right? And went. But one guy took the apple and wanted to find out why it was coming down. Threw the apple again in the sky, it came down. And that is how we created what you call it as the earth has the power to attract the objects towards it. Now, that makes the difference between a teacher and the others. And that is why the next one is, don't be sheepish, right? Beaten track. and the Supreme Court said that is why it should be right. No, the Supreme Court is also consisting of human beings like you and me. They can also commit blunders, and it is your job to tell them that what they have done is wrong, right? So therefore, the distinction between critical thinking and critical legal studies should also be kept in mind. I would rather say critical legal studies itself is a product of that critical thinking, right? Having said that, let me just quickly, what are the objectives of critical thinking, right? First, for faculty, it provides a shared concept of critical thinking, because if you are thinking alone, it may not come. Because in law, there is nothing called as right and wrong, right? So therefore, in the discussion, in the deliberation, you always try to find out it is a shared concept through which the critical thinking might emerge. For students, critical thinking is a supplement to any textbook or a course, right? It is a supplement. So you make them think and you also think, and together it is a supplement to any textbook or any material that you give to the students. The faculty can use it to design instructions, assignments, and tests in any subject. Law is also one such subject in which you can try this. Students can use it to improve their learning in any area. And critical thinking, right, is a generic skill that can be applied to all subjects. For example, critical thinkers are clear as to the purpose at hand and the questions at issue. So if these things are combined, you will try to understand what this critical thinking is. They question any information, and that will make you understand very clearly. I told you these teachers have been information passers, right? But you have to question that information. If you don't question, you should allow the students to question that information, right? And there may be different points of view, and that different points of view can come together, and then you will have a much broader understanding of that information that you have. And they strive to be clear, accurate, precise, and relevant. They seek to think beneath the surface, to be logical and fair, to apply these skills to the reading and writing, as well as the speaking and listening capabilities. And finally, they apply them in history, science, maths, philosophy, social sciences, law, and the arts, in professional as well as personal life, right? So critical thinking is, what is the use of this critical thinking? Why should I think? My job is to pass on the information. My job is over, right? A cultivated critical thinker raises vital questions and problems, formulating them clearly and precisely. Number two, gathers and assesses relevant information using abstract ideas to interpret it effectively. Third one, comes to well-reasoned conclusions and solutions, testing them against relevant criteria and standards. And finally, thinks open-mindedly within alternative systems of thought, recognizing and assessing as the need be their assumptions, implications, and practical consequences. These are the benefits of the critical thinking. So you will understand passing on the information. For example, reservation is good or bad. I'm passing on the information. But you make the counter opinion, the via media, when you take all these views, something well-informed decisions one can easily take, right? Why do we need this critical thinking in legal education and to make the learning environment much more better? Law is not static, it is dynamic. I don't have to say this. What is good today is not good tomorrow. And that's why there is an ancient adage, do it today, lest the law may not forbid you tomorrow, right? So if the law doesn't prohibit, you can do anything you want today, right? So law is not static, it keeps on changing. And as it changes, I think it is also because of the critical thinking that has gone beyond, gone beneath the law, the makers, whatever it is, and therefore it is dynamic. It changes according to socio-economic, political, and technological changes, right? Issues like untouchability, taxation, social welfare, right, cyber laws and cyber crimes, they're all changing, fast emerging. Law is not able to catch the speed in which technology is going, right? The outcome of critical thinking leads to reforms in law And I think that is what you find in many of the reports. Now, what are the sources of this critical thinking? It's only a suggestion. It is not exhaustive list of 4. It's only, suggesting it. Analytical methodology can be an excellent source or base for critical thinking. Comparative methodology, right, can also be a good source. Empirical method of collecting data and analyzing that is also, and finally, hermeneutic approach can also contribute to critical thinking, because hermeneutic approach, I think in your legal philosophy class, if you can read, Herman is nothing but the god of messenger, right? One who wrote knows what he really meant, right? We are all trying to interpret what it means and what it means not. So all these method of teaching and method of learning will certainly lead to the critical thinking. What do you require for this, right? This is all my own. It may be something wrong or something you may not like it, but books. And when I say books, please don't tell me that you are going to read Pandey in the classroom or Maineni in the classroom. Maineni is an excellent human being. He has written on every subject, right? So if you say that you are following Maineni, and that shows the quality of teaching, right? I'm not, I don't know both of them, but still, I know the contents. That's why I'm saying, right? If you are using certain books, specify the pages available so that the students can also read and come. How many will read and come? Maybe 5% will read and come. And if you are able to impose such conditions on students, the remaining students will also follow later. The journals, if you don't read journals, because the difference between a book and a journal, book is published only once after thinking, constructing everything properly. Journals, they can be updated at any point of time. Some journals come every month periodically or every quarter. I think they carry latest information. Judicial decisions, and this is what I mentioned to you. The entire world legal information institutions are available in this website, www.liiofindia.org. Right? Wherever you go to the class, please try this. In a law school, Bangalore, we have created a culture. A student coming to constitutional law classes will have to carry the text of the Indian Constitution, right? We will carry, as teachers, it is our duty to carry it. And when I impose it, all the students must bring it. I can identify out of 80 students who has not brought it. I identified that student, ask him to read. Then they realize that they have not. Then I send them back to the hostel, bring the book. And it has become a habit over a period of time. Now, if I enter the class, all the 80, even if they don't have the classes, they keep the text in the classroom. And the moment you say Article 14, everyone will turn. Article 252, everyone will turn. Whoever reaches first will start reading, others will listen. So you have the entire class attentive to each and every word that you utter, right? Use of ICT proportionately. Please keep this in mind, proportionately. Too much of reliance on technology, they will brand you as PowerPoint teacher or pen drive teacher, right? So therefore, you have to use it proportionately. I have got another joke, but this is not the time to speak about that. Interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary approach wherever it is required. The new education policy speaks about this. Providing reading material, both hard and soft copy, to the students. I found some of the private schools, the teachers have taken so much of interest. They are pumping lots of information to the student body through the digital platform, right? Giving all the articles, judicial decisions, so on and so forth, and make them read at least. At the personal level, communication is mandatory for every teacher, right? Both written and oral. Continuing and ongoing research so that you will also publish, right? Then develop the critical thinking. I will just ask this question. How many of you think Article 300 is the basis for the tort, a response to tort committed by government officials? How many of you think Article 300 is the base, right? Please read it carefully, then you will understand why I have given this as an example, right? And create an environment for critical thinking. If a student questions you, please take some time to answer. If you don't respond to the question, I'll also tell you one more thing. The teacher who responds by saying, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer, but I'll get back to you in the next class. The teacher goes back, prepares, and comes back in the next class and responds to the question. The students will have lots and lots of respect to the teacher who says the teacher doesn't know, right? But if the teacher gives an answer which is nothing but a bluff, that students will assess the teacher accordingly, right? Coordination and cooperation with colleagues, I can say a million times, but I don't know how much it will work because I have lived a different life altogether. If I get an application form for a particular course or a particular form for a fellowship, I used to share it with all my colleagues. But never in my life of 44 years of teaching, never in my life anybody else has brought and given me, sir, it is available, you also please apply. Because we don't want them to be our competitors, right? Which is bad in my opinion, but I think that is how the world revolves. Encouraging and appreciating the students in the classroom for the views expressed. You cannot say that you are totally wrong, bluntly. You may be right, but however, in the present scenario, it may not be accepted. Appreciate so that you are encouraging some other also to follow. Do prompt, but do not pose as if you know everything. This is a very, very big evil for the teachers. Don't pose that you know everything. Create a positive atmosphere from the beginning till the end of the semester, right? What are the benefits that you receive in this academic environment that you create? It becomes interactive, right? On many occasions, when you go to this 1 hour class, and that's why always I engage 2 hours classes, right? Because by the time the engine gets heated up, it takes 15 to 20 minutes, right? And then whatever you have to say, by the time the bell goes. So therefore, it becomes interactive. You are not in a position to cover the syllabus, right? And somebody used to very beautifully put it, the obligation of the teacher is not to cover the syllabus, but to uncover the syllabus. I hope you understand what I am trying to say. To uncover the syllabus, which means that critical thinking is part and parcel of covering that syllabus. Exchange of ideas and opinions cultivates tolerance for opposite views expressed. There is a possibility of multidisciplinary approach to problem solving and may also result in law reforms, right? Finally, let us not produce the lawyers that Jeremy Bentham once said. Lawyers are the only persons in whom ignorance of the law is not punished, right? If you understand what Jeremy Bentham has said is true in this present scenario, I think we have every obligation to see that the lawyers that we produce don't stand as an example to Jeremy Bentham, but will become an exception to this. Thank you very much for patient listening.